discussing the issues and celebrating the successes of the African American community. This is Another View.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Another View. I'm Barbara Ham Lee. It's been a year since we last talked about prostate cancer and African American men. And in that time, some things have changed, and some things are still the same. What's changed? New progress in treatment for prostate cancer. What stayed the same? We still need to get the word out to men to get tested. Now, tomorrow is the day for the African American Men's Health Forum at Norfolk State University. And while they will have information and screenings on all kinds of male health issues, prostate cancer will be front and center. Joining us to talk about detection and treatment are Terrence Affer-Anderson, who was recently diagnosed with prostate cancer, Charlie Hill, president of the Hampton Roads Prostate Health Forum, oncologist Dr. Mark Fleming, and Ed Sykes, chairman of the African American Men's Health Forum. Thanks and welcome to the program, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Now, before we get into the discussion, I want to bring up some stats that we know. We know that the city of Hampton, according to the recent statistics, has the #1 prostate cancer is #1. It's the #1 area for prostate cancer. 1 in 6 men are diagnosed, and African American men are more likely to die from this disease than any other group. That's frightening still in terms of what we're trying to accomplish. Terrence, you just had a very recent experience with the diagnosis. Tell us what that was like for you and what precipitated your diagnosis.
Well, I was getting my regular testing, my PSA test, and they began coming back with elevated levels. And in September was when we became aware of it. I eventually had a biopsy done in December of last year, and ultimately got the diagnosis on January the 5th.
And so you've been going through this process, and you're still going through it now.
Yeah,
are you not?
I had the surgery just last week, which will actually now be April 7th, and it was a very positive experience based on my experiences, previously, because it took me a while to settle on a urologist. I had an issue with a urologist that I had previously, and that resulted in some delays in getting a radiation oncologist. But I have a very, very good team now, and as evidence of that, I feel like I actually haven't even had the procedure.
Which is good, and you're feeling healthy now?
I feel very healthy.
Good.
Yeah, it was mentally, I had the brachytherapy done, which is where they implant radioactive seeds, and versus the radical prostatectomy. So in that sense, it was minimally invasive compared to the
Let me ask you a question. You had the PSA test, but did you also have the DRE? That's the physical exam. Charlie, isn't that one thing that a lot of men still are kind of worried about?
Absolutely.
That DRE?
Absolutely. I think that somehow we have allowed it to happen that men think just the PSA or the blood test is all you need to do. In actuality, you need to do both the blood test as well as the digital rectal exam, and that simply increases your chances to identify a problem area or an abnormal prostate early.
Dr. Fleming, why is it so hard to get? Now, we're talking about our men right now. Y'all got 4 good-looking black men sitting here. Why is it so hard to get our men to go to get tested, to go to the doctor?
I just think fear. I think there's a lot of fears out there in terms of what the actually doctor is going to do and what it actually does. And I agree with Charlie. We find a lot of information out from early detection with PSA as well as the digital rectal exam.
So you'd rather people have both?
Yes. To me, to have a kind of a thorough exam for early detection of prostate cancer, you need both the PSA as well as the digital rectal exam.
Now, Ed, some people will say, I'm not going to go get tested because it costs too much. Tomorrow, the screening at the health forum, you all will be actually doing screenings, won't you?
There will be no excuse. At the forum, we'll be doing a variety of different screenings. Prostate will not be one of them, but we will have a coupon so that they can get a free prostate screening at a later date. But we'll be testing for HIV, oral cancer, diabetes, a variety of different testings that we will do. The main thing is to get the information, and the screenings are a way for you to get the information. And I always, people always say information is power. No, information plus action is power, and that's what our conference is all about.
And that's the thing. You've actually got to go and do something. I want people to know, for those who listen to our sister station NPR, that Ed is the technology guru on Hearsay with Kathy Lewis, yes. So people can see what you look like instead of just hearing your voice. But I'm curious. Your background is technology, but yet you're the chair of this health forum. How did that happen, and what's your driving force?
Well, there's a couple of things. A couple of years ago, I was going through some health issues. I went to the doctor. The doctor wanted to give me every pill in the world, and at that point, I really took a look at my life, and I put the hand on my doctor's hand as he was writing the prescriptions out, and said, "Hold off, doc. Give me 60 days. I'm going to turn everything around." So sure enough, I went to the gym. I changed my eating habits, all that. Came back 60 days. My doctor was amazed. No prescriptions. So that, along with my wife really wanting me to get involved as far as taking control of the health, because when we're healthy, our families are healthy, our communities are healthy, we're economically empowered. And when I see every day when I'm in business, people who are out there alone, not knowing what their health situation is. Just give me an example. I was coaching with a client, and her husband found out he had prostate cancer. Had just moved to the area. They felt all alone. So thank goodness I was involved with the American Cancer Society with this health forum, and I was able to give them the resources so that they didn't feel alone. They went through the process, and that's the great thing about the American Cancer Society, is that they have a great advocacy program. They have people that will advocate for your health.
Help walk you through
Absolutely.
that process.
And that's what happens a lot of times. And I think that's a part of the fear. If I do have it, what happens next? So now you have vehicles out there, you have resources out there, so that you're not alone. We will advocate for you.
Okay. Charlie, one of the things that you point out is very important is that the wife or the significant other become very much involved in the process also.
Absolutely. I think without the skills and the touch of a woman in particular, a man loses the support that he needs at a most critical time. So the Hampton Roads Prostate Health Forum emphasizes that the woman should be involved. It can be daughter, it can be wife, can be girlfriend, and we would encourage other family members and partners if they provide the support that's needed at that critical time.
Now, you are also a survivor of prostate
I am
cancer.
living with prostate cancer.
And
I would,
you brought that up before. Talk about that, because you phrase it differently. Most people say, I'm a cancer survivor. You say, I'm living with.
Yeah, the exciting thing is that when you say I'm a survivor, it suggests that maybe the end is coming soon, possibly. And what I'd like to emphasize is that, look at me. Do I look like I have cancer? And I think the point is that you can live with prostate cancer in 2010 because there are so many different modalities for treatment. The understanding of the disease is probably deeper than it's been ever. And I think we want men to understand that just because they have prostate cancer, if they are diagnosed early enough and if they follow the regimen recommended by an informed physician or health professional, then they can live with prostate cancer. It's not the end of the line for them.
So, but Mark, once you get prostate cancer, do you ever get rid of prostate cancer? Can you ever be cured from
Yes, and most men are cured of prostate cancer. I would say 2/3 of men are actually cured if their disease is localized at the when they're initially diagnosed.
So that means it's still in the prostate. It has not.
Well, there are many
spread
treatments,
to others.
be it if they have surgery, radiation, brachytherapy. There are many different treatment options available. I don't want to steal my talk for tomorrow, but I think that
You just give them a little preview.
a little preview is that there are many treatments, and as Charlie said, we're making a lot of advancements, and doctors are getting smarter with research, and I think a lot of that research is happening here in Hampton Roads, and men don't really have to go outside of Hampton Roads to get the latest and greatest treatment.
One of those treatments is going to be proton
Yes.
treatment over at Hampton University, the Proton Center
Yes.
that's being built, and I think they're opening up in August.
August
coming
is-
up, and that is one of the cancers that they will be treating. As a matter of fact, they are holding a informational seminar on Wednesday, April the 28th. So if people want to go and check that out to find out more about that center, they can do that also. How did you decide what kind of therapy you wanted?
I did a great amount of research when I got the diagnosis, and actually when I became suspect to have prostate cancer. I began doing quite a bit of research, and as Ed intimated
And
on
was
the
your
internet.
suspicion simply because your PSA was elevated, or
Yeah,
were there other
well,
things?
I had the DRE done, and the DRE, you know, I had always had a large prostate, so the most revealing element was the PSA test for me, and they began coming back a bit elevated. But
not everybody, just because somebody's PSA is elevated, does not necessarily mean, I'm looking at you two,
Yes.
that you have prostate cancer, right?
Correct, and I'd also say that just because your PSA is low does not necessarily mean you don't have prostate cancer either.
Okay, okay, okay.
There's
But back to your decision making. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a man in the prostate support group that I attend who's had elevated PSAs, and he's had 5 biopsies with they're not finding cancer.
Wow.
But for me, I looked at radical prostatectomy, and one of my big brothers, who was with the American Cancer Society, you know, had me really seriously think about that. And so I began looking at other options, and I found something called HDR, high dose radiation brachytherapy, and as well as low dose, which is what I had. And in my particular instance, it appears that the low dose would be the best for me.
Best one. Now, you're also the PR person for
PR
the
chair, yeah.
PR chair for this forum. So you're involved with the American Cancer Society. But for everyday Joe, how do they find out the information they need to find? Or did you feel like you were kind of a babe in the woods, even though you had been surrounded by this information all along?
Well, this year, the forum this year has taken on particular meaning for me because I've been working with the forum for like 3 years. And so for me, because of the environment that I was in, I was able to find someone that I could immediately talk to. But if there's someone that feels that, you know, they have just recently got the diagnosis, they can certainly call the American Cancer Society. And there are people that they make available to provide counseling.
Charlie, there's so much information out there. Some of it's correct, some of it is incorrect. How do you start to wade through that process? I mean, you're already nervous because you've gotten this diagnosis. So what are some of the first steps you should take to really rationally look at this thing and make the right decisions for yourself?
Probably one of the first decisions one should make is identify someone who really is informed. One of the reasons that the Hampton Roads Prostate Health Forum is launching workshops to be presented around Hampton Roads is to sift through all of that information and make it very easy for people to come into sessions and get information that may be useful in their particular case. So I think it is a tough challenge to sort through all of the information, much of which is conflicting, as well as simply confusing. And it's very difficult to do by yourself. We think that if you can identify folk who are informed and who are willing to help, then you're better off than just to try to do it on your own.
Okay, let's talk about some real nuts and bolts. Are there any other symptoms outside of you went to your doctor and you got tested? Is there anything else that may happen to you to indicate that you may have prostate cancer?
No, many men do not have symptoms, and most don't have symptoms before they're at a point that their disease can be cured. If you're having symptoms of prostate cancer, if it's advanced, then it's really too late. And I think what we're trying to do is encourage men to believe in early detection. Since the last time that we spoke, we can now say that we have medicines to prevent or decrease the risk of prostate cancer. And we couldn't say
what are some of those
so
things
the class of drugs is what's called 5-alpha reductase inhibitors. They are commonly used for BPH or prostate enlargement. But there are 2 drugs that that are very suggestive. That decreases the risk of prostate cancer by about 25%.
Because we still don't know why prostate cancer happens, do we?
We don't. We don't have a good answer. I think there's a lot of myths out there. There are some early suggestive things, but diet does impact it. But sometimes, unfortunately, we don't know why African Americans get it more often.
Yeah, because that was going to be my very next question, is why does it affect our, but there's nothing in terms of dietary rules, or have you guys changed your eating habits or anything like that as a result of being diagnosed?
Well, for me, one thing I learned through the research, and you can get overwhelmed with information, but one thing I learned was pomegranate juice, and I don't know if it hasn't really been. I think it's going to be tested sometime soon, so I don't know if it's
so that really hasn't been tested as a cure.
But it tastes good. You know.
Robert, it is important to note that age is a risk factor. That we know that as men get older, the chances for having prostate cancer increases. We also know that African Americans tend to have more diagnoses, certainly more incidence of prostate cancer, so you could say that's a risk. And then there's family, first-degree relatives. If you have a brother or a father who has prostate cancer, that would put you in a high-risk group. So we do know those. Now, as to why, I agree with Dr. Fleming that we don't know what drives those particular developments, but those are factual and they can be supported by the data. You opened the show talking about Hampton. I would say Hampton is probably no worse off than all of Hampton Roads. I think if you look at the health districts,
we were looking at the rankings of each of the cities.
Yes.
And Hampton was #1.
Yes, yes. But the key point to consider is that all of the health districts in Hampton Roads are higher than the state of Virginia average, and that's significant. So I would say Hampton Roads is a broader regional concern.
Are there any studies that it may be environmental? Or may have something, since it's this region as opposed to the rest of the state?
So I want to talk about something that Terry said, is that pomegranate juice, many men will come in and drink 8 ounces of pomegranate juice, and that study came with 48 men that suggested that it lowered PSA. What I quoted you in saying the drugs 5-alpha reductase inhibitors, that's with almost 20,000 men. Almost 30,000 men that were studied in a very scientific fashion that showed that taking those medications can decrease your risk by 25%. And so clinical trials are important. Do you want to go with information based upon 48 people, which has not been confirmed in a larger trial, or do you want to go information of almost 30,000 men? And I think that you have to, when you take in information, and there are things on the internet about pomegranate juice, about vitamin E and selenium. There was a large trial that was suggestive early on that it was protective, but it turned out that when we did a larger study, it was not. And so that's why this is so confusing. And that's why informed doctors can break down that information and saying what is really key. Because I have men that come in with, they have their pomegranate juice, they have their seed extract, etc. And I know the data, but I say, I can't tell you if it's hurting you or not. I just hope you're not spending all of your paycheck on
those things. And have you been tested?
Yes, absolutely, on an annual basis. And like I said, age is a big factor. I want to also bring up something that kills me when I hear it all the time. You know, people will look at people and say, you are the picture of perfect health. And I did this at one session, and then I said, how many people have had cancer? And 5 or 6 people stood up. You can't tell by looking at somebody if they have prostate cancer. So the thing is, go out there, get your exam, be proactive about it, and make a difference in your health.
Okay, I'm going to bring up something. We only have about 3 minutes left, but one of the things I think that may keep men from getting tested and so forth are the sexual side effects of this disease. Charlie, I'm going to start with you, because since you want to bring the women in, I mean, how can we be supportive of that from that perspective?
I think that women can be extremely supportive because it is a concern for most men. Their sexual function before and after, and how will they be able to perform? And I think what women can do is understand that most of the treatments will have side effects that could reduce the performance of their partners. Understanding that and helping the men work through those challenges is critical. And I know men. I have been to funerals of men who chose not to be treated because they would lose their sexual function. And
if you don't get treated, you're going to lose it anyway.
You're going to lose it anyway. So I think that it's important that we have grown-up conversations about sexual function and how critical that is to the man's manhood. And we don't talk enough about that. We hope to be able to talk more going in the future with workshops on sex, medicine, and intimacy under the umbrella of the Hampton Roads Prostate Forum, so as to pass this information on, and we invite more women to participate and help us achieve success in this area.
Terrence, was that a concern of yours as you looked at the whole spectrum?
It absolutely was a concern, but for me, it was the reality that that doesn't mean a diagnosis of prostate cancer and subsequent treatment doesn't necessarily mean that that is going to happen. That it is a possibility. It is a distinct possibility, but it doesn't mean that that's going to happen. And the main thing is your health is more important than anything else, of course.
Absolutely.
You know?
Okay, so the health forum is tomorrow. It's at Norfolk State University. I think we have a full screen board that we can go to take a look at the specifics. I think it starts at 8.
8:15.
Okay, and runs until
2:30.
Okay.
The screenings will be from 8:15 to 10:45. The sessions will start, educational sessions and speeches by these dynamic gentlemen right here. Will go from 11 o'clock. Free lunch, and let me just say, everything is free about this forum, so there's no reason for no one not to come. So free screenings, free seminars, free lunch. Get the information, make a difference in your life, and let me just say, real men get the exam. Come on down and be a real man.
Fantastic. And on that, we're out of time. Thank you, gentlemen, so much for sharing this information with us, and I hope you have a wonderful turnout tomorrow. And go get tested. And when we come back, how one community is mentoring its children, one child at a time. But first, a look at what's happening in Hampton Roads. Some Williamsburg teens are getting life lessons while taking chess lessons. It's all part of an innovative program called Young Men of the Future. And as our Lisa Godley discovered, the program not only makes the participants think about where they're going, but just may produce a few champions along the way.
We want to talk about the health care bill. Anybody know what the health care bill does?
A lot of people that don't have health insurance, and if they pass a health care bill, people that don't have health insurance will get it.
Like many of their after-school discussions, the conversations that take place at the Young Men of the Future sessions not only deal with how today's events will affect us right now, but how they'll impact their future. Issues like the new health care legislation.
That's a lot of people who are going into the health care system. A number of things will change, and what you need to do is what? What do you need to begin thinking about doing to take advantage of this?
Study.
Study hard. Begin to think about taking some computer, make sure you're prepared to take computer classes. Lab, math.
I wanted to be a doctor when I grow up.
You want to be a doctor? Yes. What about a radiologist?
The York, James City County, Williamsburg NAACP started the Young Men of the Future program about 2.5 years ago. They meet here at James Blair Middle School in Williamsburg about every other Wednesday.
I like it because it builds character, and it like if you begin to do something, it makes you think about what they taught you.
Clarence Wilson spearheads the program.
We feel that in the middle schools, that's where young men, particularly African-American young men, began to shift, or I should say their academic performance began to shift. They come out of elementary school doing well, and in middle school they end up not doing so well. So our goal was to try to keep them focused on doing well, and for those who are not doing well, to try to inspire them to reach down and do some things that they might not ordinarily do.
One of those things is chess.
You are defending what he is attacking.
Did you know how to play chess before you started here?
No, but once I got into it, it's really exciting.
It's really exciting, huh? Donald Hill is the group's resident chess expert. He says they've definitely got some future champions in the mix. And like the rest of the mentors, he's well aware that these sessions offer a lot more than learning the skills needed to win the game.
Each piece has its own value, and those values are found in these kids as they learn. We try to give them lessons of real-life experiences through chess. It's actually a vehicle we use. And as they progress and as they learn the value of what they're doing. Because the choices that they make, like they do in a chess game, they realize the rewards that are made when they do the correct move and the consequences when they make bad moves.
We've talked about chess tournaments and grades. We've talked about what's going on in life, like economics and how people are losing their jobs. We've been talking about chess and how many moves we can do, and really it's just a very good experience.
For Another View, I'm Lisa Godley.
And let me encourage you again to go tomorrow to Norfolk State University for the African American Men's Health Forum. It's free. There's no reason for you not to go. Get tested and make sure that you're okay. And also the Hampton University Proton Therapy Institute is holding its informational seminar on Wednesday, April 28th at 6:30. So check that out too. And that's our program for this evening. Be sure to check us out on Facebook or visit our website, anotherview.tv, and sign up for our e-newsletter. Next week, the juvenile justice system and why so many African American boys are a part of it. We'll see you next time for Another View.